Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session of D Talks or Disruptive Literacy Talks. I'm your host, Mashood Bhatt. Um, One very important aspect that we have covered during these talks is the importance of a systemic transformation. And whenever we talk about a systemic transformation, collaboration between different stakeholders becomes one of the most important factors that is the difference between the success and failure of an initiative in education. And this is going to be the focus of today's conversation, where we are going to talk about how, when we talk about enhancing learning outcomes through system strengthening, then what is the importance of collaboration? And to speak on this, we have a very special guest. He is the Chief Operating Officer of the Edelgave Foundation. He is also an academic. He has a PhD from the Indian Institute of Population Studies and has a very rich and diverse perspective and experience, not just in the education sector, but also in many other sectors, including livelihood and women empowerment. So it's an honor to welcome Mr. Atul Gandhi. Atulji, thank you so much for joining us here at Detox.
Thanks, Mashood. It's really pleasure to be with you this morning and be part of the Detox series. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Atulji. So, to tell all the members who will be joining us live on social media, the format that we'll follow is Atulji has a presentation, and after the presentation, we'll have a question and answer round as well. So, please feel free to share your questions and ideas and comments on the chat section as well. Atulji, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Mashood. So we'll begin with, let me just put up the presentation and we'll begin.
Yes, yeah. It's up there.
Yeah, thank you. So let me just introduce quickly Edelgave to all our listeners and viewers today. So Edelgave Foundation is CSR arm of Edelweiss Group, and we were founded in 2008. And since then, we have been making grants in three sectors: education, livelihood, and women's empowerment. In 2016, we launched this collaboration of different partners, which also has government as one of the important partner in the entire collaboration. We called it the Collaborators for Transforming Education. So this is a public-private partnership with school Department of School Education and Sports with Government of Maharashtra, and we are supporting the vision of quality education of the government through this particular collaborative, where are all actions which are through our on-ground partners. We call them implementing partners, which are Gyan Prakash Foundation, Kaivalya Education Foundation, and Quality Education Support Trust or Quest. Is intended towards supporting the vision of having every child a quality education in the education system, and building the capacities of the education functionaries through this program to really build a sustainable model of a model for quality education. So when we partner with government, the objectives were three, while we were looking at enhancing the overall quality of education, enhancing learning outcomes, supporting education system through building the capacities of relevant functionaries, which would include not only teachers and headmasters, but other non-teaching functionaries, like you have cluster level leaders or Kendra Pramukhs as they called in Maharashtra. You have the block education officer and the district level functionaries as part of the diet or the DEO to address the challenges and build the capacities to ensure that whatever transformative processes we bring in as part of this program, they are really institutionalized as part of the system, so that the sustainability of the effort is ensured. And of course, improvement in community engagement as part of sustainability is also very important, because as we know, a child spends only about 5 to 7 hours in school, and rest of the time he's part of the family. He spends with his with parents, with community, with friends. So that engagement, we understand that is extremely important if we want to enhance the overall quality of education and enhance the overall well-being of the child from the education point of view. It is also important that the community engagement, because we work with the schools in in the rural areas, rural Maharashtra, the schools which are managed by Zilla Parishad in the state. It is important that we also make the community and the school management committees as part of this intervention, because that is also one entity which has this responsibility entrusted upon as part of RTE, and can offer the required sustainability for the program. So if we look it from the sort of business side, we are addressing both the demand and the supply part of it. Demand from strengthening the community engagement by creating that demand for quality education for children, and strengthening the education system who has responsibility for delivering that by building their capacities, so that the supply side is also equally equipped to provide the high quality education to the children. So as I mentioned, Edelgive started this collaboration in 2016. Edelgive is at the center of the entire collaborative, where we have established a secretariat which runs this program, the responsibility of coordination with government, the responsibility of coordination with implementing partners, raising funding for the program is the Edelgive's task here. What helped us in all this process, and we have seen we have been running this from 2016, and probably the longest functioning collaborative in the country at this point. The strong governance mechanism that we put in place, which are based on principles of trust, transparency, or and the ensuring that there is a voice for every partner in the collaborator, and clear roles and responsibility for every partner, has helped us immensely in ensuring that the entire collaborative runs very, very smooth. So how we approach this intervention is, we started in 2016 with school transformation program, where actions were largely focused on levels cluster below, which is cluster, headmaster, teachers, schools, and the community, where we were targeting at community level SMCs, parents, and the community at large to garner their support for the entire intervention, and also put in place some transformative processes with an idea of demonstrate and scale. Because we, right from the beginning, we designed the entire intervention that we want it to be something which works at scale, and not only something that can be scaled up. So the processes were designed and demonstrated taking that into account, and then we moved into the phase 2 of the program, that is the district transformation model. So as you can see on the screen, we started working in the 4 districts, that is Nandurbar, Amravati, Parbhani, and Gadchiroli, picking one block from each district, except Gadchiroli, where we were working in 2 blocks. But we were not working in the entire block. We picked up only 25 30 schools from each of the blocks, totally about 272 schools from all the 4 districts, and transform these schools by intervening at the school level, where we build capacities of the teachers to really see the assessment data. So back in 2016, government was conducting assessment for statewide for all the grades. We use that data, we analyze that data, and help with that competency based assessment data to the teachers, saying that how they are able to use this information to identify the competency gaps among children, and what are the actions they can initiate through that. For example, putting a child wise action plan for the children in their class, making use of information, and also strengthening how they should transform the classroom processes, so that they can ensure that every child in the class is able to uh, gain the competencies that are required as per the curriculum for that particular grade. What we also did is we activated the existing platforms for this. For example, there is an existing platform called Shikshan Parishad, which are cluster level meetings that happen every month. We transformed this activity, which was either defunct or was mostly has got converted into an administrative gathering of teachers in the cluster for exchange of circulars, exchange of information, reporting, and things like that. We transformed this into a peer learning platform, and I'm very proud to say that now these activities run without an exception every month. Even we had during pandemic, the Shikshan Parishads moved to online platform wherever possible. They were also happening in person, and these activities now spend almost 90% of its time on academic discussions, and only about 10% time on administrative issues that the cluster needs to address in that given month. So these activities and many others will come to that, helped us to successfully demonstrate that the transformation working within the framework of the government program, within the framework of what the structure that the government has put in place has is possible. We demonstrated that the learning there is learning enhancement, and we were able to in 2018 onwards, we were able to scale up the program from 5 blocks then to 65 blocks in 20 as of now. We have reaching out in almost 11,000 plus schools, and 45,000 plus teachers. What has helped us in this entire process and over the time is that we have been able to demonstrate and bring in that required ownership among the school, the teachers, the cluster level people, and also the block level people, that this is really their program. The We see very high ownership among people at school level, the SMCs, the block level people, and the district level people, in terms of how they have started approaching the entire problem of learning outcomes. We often get invitations from the district entities that they need some support. They are wanting to work on something, and how this can be set right through our interventions on ground and our experiences that we have got from the ground. What you can see that when we conducted a third party assessment in after 3 years of intervention, we found a significant increase in number of children who have earned grade specific competencies in grade 1, 3, and 5. We work in elementary grades, that is 1 to 7, and there are some schools which are also grade 11, but grade 8, but there are very few schools which are catering to up to grade 8. Largely it is children from grade 1 to grade 7 that are part of the program. The other important thing was that when I said the community engagement is one of the important piece here, it is we understood that it is not only important that we intervene with the school management committee, but also it is important that the governance part, which is with the representatives, that is the elected representatives, the and the bodies of these people, the panchayat samiti or the zilla parishad, because they are the ones who are going to drive the entire agenda. So what we did is we put a lot of effort on building the education gram sabhas, which are then merged into the main gram sabha. And we also saw that increasingly a good proportion of school are also participating very very actively in school development plan, and merging those school development plans into the gram panchayat development plans, thereby ensuring that whatever support the school requires is there. As I mentioned earlier, the analysis of the assessment data, so that there is better understanding at the teacher level to understand the competency gaps and ensure that he is able to access his fellow teachers in during the Shikshan Parishad, the cluster level meetings, to understand what are the activities that he can take up, what are the methods he can adopt, or what in his class, so that he's able to ensure that every child is gaining that competency. The assessment part and what we demonstrated through that was a lot appreciated by state government and central government, the MHRD has picked it up for putting it as part of one of the application which NUPA was developing, and the I don't know the status of development as it, but it was picked up when Mr. Swaroop was MHRD, the education secretary. We also brought in activities to ensure that there is an overall enhancement in the learning environment for the child. For example, to give experiential learning for child, we brought in kitchen garden concept in the school. So everything from sowing seeds, preparing the beds, to sowing seeds and raiding the plants and the vegetables is entirely responsibility of children, and they do it with great enthusiasm and zeal to that helps to make a conducive environment school. We also converted made worked on the concept of bala building as learning aids, so painting of school, so making it more engaging place for child. Simple things like transforming the morning assembly of the school so that there is an opportunity for children to engage with each other, introducing concepts like the Bal Sansad, where you have a health minister who is responsible for ensuring every child is washing hand before taking the midday meal, ensuring that the vegetables from kitchen garden are washed properly and used in their midday meal, ensuring that the nails are cut, the children are well groomed. It's a responsibility for of the health minister. There is a sports minister who ensure that the children engage with each other in sports, and the overall environment is there. All these activities contribute immensely in terms of bringing the self confidence of the children to a new level. Uh, Also, what is important here that uh, uh, the Shikshan Parishad is one of our activity which we transformed, which is an education part of the system, is right there since the time of DPEP, and which was defunct. So our work on this was immensely successful, and we also documented this in one particular a stepwise guide form, along with government of Maharashtra and the SCRT here. And this document has been adopted for statewide implementation from the government side, and is has been shared everywhere. So these are some pictures from the field where we are showing that how the morning assemblies have been transformed, how the libraries have been transformed. This also activity which has been picked up by government for statewide transformation. How the effective use of teaching learning material can be made, how the classroom processes can be improved through this, how the teacher were engaged in creation of new TLM which is more contextualized for them, and the children in the kitchen garden. So these are activities which helped us immensely to bring together all components and be successful in the overall journey so far. So there are some testimonials from the teachers and some of the funders that we have as part of the collaboratives, and from the additional chief secretary of Department of Education. Uh, I think I'll stop there and hand it over to Mashud for any questions.
Thank you very much, Atulji, for that very wonderful and impactful presentation. I think the experiences that you have shared is it offers a lot of ideas and lessons to all the stakeholders who are working in the education sector about how to actually conceptualize and implement a true systemic transformation. Because I think this project has covered each and every stakeholder that is connected to the education system and have the role of or have the power to make a positive impact. So it's absolutely phenomenal, the project, and the whole experience that you've shared. You've so well articulated in this. The first question which I had was about like essentially what motivates stakeholders to have ownership over programs. As you were earlier mentioning that many of the events, for example, the Shikshan Parishad revival and these meetings at the cluster level, it had a lot of ownership. So how important is that ownership of the system stakeholders over the program for its success?
I think excellent question, Mashood. I'll narrate one experience here. So when we started working in 2016, the response we used to get, and this we got to know close to, after about 2 to 3 quarters into the program, and when we went for a visit to one of the districts. So and we interacted with people from the system, the cluster leaders, the teachers, and they very very frankly shared with us that when you people started working it with us, what we thought as, okay, this is yet another organization who would go and complain about us that we don't come on time in school, this is a problem, that is a problem, or take these solutions and implement. But our approach was entirely different in the program. When we went there, we said, we don't have any solutions for you, we are here to work with you, right? And there are no solution that lie externally. So most important, the trust part of it is most important, right? We trusted all the stakeholders that we are working with, saying that that they know what their problems are, and they also know what are the solutions to their problems, because the problems are not, you are not seeing the problem everywhere. There are some problems somewhere, but those are resolved in some other place, right? And that was the opportunity for us to gain that trust from them, that okay, we are not here to teach them anything, but we are here to work with them. And that helped us to take next steps in terms of, say for example, using the state's assessment data. It is their data, it is data for their children, they were part of that assessment. We just help them to decode that information in a manner that will be helpful for them to take actions. And when they, and I'm very proud to share with you that when we started working in 2016, the first data we put our people to enter the assessment data for all 14,000 teacher children in our intervention. And we analyzed that data, created simple Excel files for teachers. And when they saw the power of that information, all the data for the second assessment was entered by teacher, because they saw the power that and how helpful that information is. So approaching it with clear roles and responsibilities, trusting them, keeping transparency in our action is what our experience has been to build that trust and build that acceptance among the people that we are working with. And I must mention here that as the time progressed, our engagement with all the stakeholders was so strong that there is an activity called as Shikshanachi Vari, or in short, an education fair which state hosts every year. So first year we were hosting the stall, but in the second year onwards, we had the block level people and the cluster level people saying that no, this is our program, we want to share what we have done. You can be there with us, but this is our program, we want to share it. And they were hosting the stall, they decided whom they want to bring in the third event, which was more focused on SMCs, they decided which sarpanch they want to be there at the education fair, who would share how gram panchayat played a constructive role in it, how the SMC played a constructive role in ensuring that the enhanced quality of the learning is enhanced in their school. And that was fabulous to watch, and that's what we wanted to happen all the time.
That's so heartening to know that the people at this block and the cluster level, they took that ownership and said that we want to be there, right? Like that was a sense of participation and interest and excitement that they have. So that's wonderful to know. You also shared about many innovative initiatives which were conducted, like the kitchen garden experiment, the cabinet student cabinet, where the health minister and the sports minister are there. Bala, and other innovative initiatives. I wanted to understand a bit more about what was the participation of teachers here, and generally when we are talking about teacher capacity building, of adding different kinds of pedagogies which might not be there in the traditional education system. So is that was that a challenge for your team, and what would be some of the learnings with respect to teacher capacity building for these initiatives?
Yeah. I would certainly say that a program of this scale which is running in so many schools will not be without a challenge. There were definitely challenges, but what we looked at for in our intervention is who are those change makers in the system itself. So if we have say 30 schools, 25 schools in our intervention area, who are those teachers who are forthcoming, right? And work with them and show and encourage them, facilitate the processes that they want to put, discuss ideas with them, and not really give a solution, but see if this can work. What is their thought on that? Will this work in their school? Will this work in with this grade, right? And then really motivating them to initiate those actions, because if we initiate it, it will fall apart, right? That it will not stay. There is no sustainability if we are providing the solution. And as I mentioned, we were not there to provide any solution. We just motivated and facilitated that process, that if a teacher wants to do something, how can we bring in support for him from the cluster level, how the block level people can support that particular school. So that was the whole approach. So we looked at the those change makers in the system, the cluster level people, the kendra pramukhs. Who are those kendra pramukhs who want to take initiative? Then how we can help them through the skill building of block level people to support them adequately. So essentially seeing that how a higher level can support the level below them to really bring the activating the teachers on ground, the headmasters on ground, and see how that can be transformed. And that was how we approach this challenge. And I think at any point of time, for a variety of reason, you will always have some 5-10% people who don't want to take those initiatives. I think at a scale it is fine, but it also important that what is missing in the system, and that was one of the major turning point for us, is the recognition part. I'm taking so much effort, but I'm not getting recognized. So the Shikshan Parishad, the cluster level meetings, was really that platform for us to say that this is a teacher who's doing fantastic on different fronts, on different fronts in his school, be it classroom processes, be it other extracurricular processes that is adding to the overall learning experience of the child. How we can recognize that teacher, how we can celebrate the achievements of that teacher, and how can also help that teacher to transmit it to other schools, how we can motivate the teachers in the cluster to pick up those and try it in their school. That's how we activated entire cluster resource group, block resource group, and the district resource groups with this entire philosophy, so that they are more engaging on ground and with teacher.
I can see a lot of similarities between what the Shikshan Parishad was doing and what we are here doing at Detox, because here we are talking about awareness, commitment, targets, and sharing. And sharing is a very important aspect. And I think that that's something which is very wonderful to know, that that a platform was created for the teachers in which they were able to kind of come back from their classrooms, share experiences, and also learn from others, so to take back learnings as well. And in the Shikshan Parishad, in terms of setting the agenda, so was there any process where the agenda was set? How was that process? Like what were the role of the teachers there in terms
Yeah.
of setting the agenda?
Sure. I think this is a very important question, Mashood, because this platform of Shikshan Parishad is not a new platform that we introduce. This is part of the education system for decades now. What we did is we just reactivated it in the true sense that it was introduced right in the beginning. Right. This platform is supposed to be led by the cluster leaders. and this is an academic platform and not an administrative gathering. And that's precisely what we did through our efforts. We supported the cluster leaders to say that what is it that you need to do as part of a cluster leader. Simple things like how a cluster leader, when goes for a school visit, should observe the school. What is his role in school observation, right? So we help these cluster leaders to really make right observations during their school visits, right? Have correct engagement with children to understand their learning levels. And then when it comes to the cluster level meeting, the cluster leader identifies from his experience, looking at the data that we have analyzed on the competency gaps, and then sets the agenda. Right, initially we work with the cluster leader to help him set the agenda, suggest him that what could be the ways of looking at it, and then slowly moving him to take entire responsibility for the Shikshan Parishad. And we that happened beautifully, because it is important to understand here that whatever action he takes, the cluster leader takes, and what teachers do, it is immediate results that they can see, right? A teacher who stops, maybe beating children for not listening or shouting on them, stops doing it, it is immediate. He is the first one to see the result of it. The cluster level person is the immediate person to see the results when he goes to school on school visit and engages with children for long hours, than sitting in the headmaster's office and just browsing through the records, right? So this is what we work with the teacher and the cluster level people on. Gave them very concrete suggestions, but not directions, to pick up things, and help them to take actions to really see how they will be able to take entire responsibility of those meetings, and see that they are the true leaders for that platform. And that's what helped us immensely.
Right. That's very interesting, and I think one very important point which is coming out from your perspectives is that if the project has to be sustainable, it g- an organization giving solutions to the system might not be the best way, but solutions coming from within the system is something which goes there for the long term as well. Here, I would like to also ask you, and this very interesting point which you made about that the foundation was working at scale and not aiming to scale up, right? So I would like you to maybe elaborate a bit more on what the difference between these two approaches is, and especially for many of the stakeholders here at Detox, who are NGOs, grassroots NGOs, with and many times we know that NGOs limited resources but can have very powerful ideas and very quality innovations. So, what would your message be of how smaller organizations with powerful ideas can work on a large scale?
So I think, Mashud, it is very important that we understand that what is the model that we are bringing in. So when I say that, there could be a fantastic idea that is working in a school or in a couple of school maybe, and we have a lot of organizations who work, say, with 20, 25, 50, 100, 200 schools. But you think of a state who has, or for that matter, take a district, right, who has almost 2000 to 2500 schools, right? So when we design one intervention and do it in, say, a group of about 25, 30 schools or 50 schools, are we able to bring that relevance for a block level person itself, say block education officer, right? A intervention in 50 schools, the block education officer is in charge for about 200 to 250 schools, depending on the region, right? Is he able to see relevance between these two, right? Now think of a district where you have almost 2000, 2000 plus schools. Is the intervention happening, or the way it is designed in the 50 schools, is it scalable to those 2000 school? Now when I say that scalable, We have to look at all the elements, and that's what we have to craft very, very carefully right in the beginning, that what is it I am bringing in as part of model, right? Let us say I bring in resources which requires cost, right? For example, I am bringing in maybe some resource material, right? That is non-existent. Okay, am I bringing in people who are highly skilled, and they are required to run that model, and that will not be possible to bring in when this intervention goes to 2500 school or 2000 schools, or for that matter even 200 schools, right? Am I bringing some parallel systems in while running my model, which is not possible to be replicated in at scale, right? Because of various reasons. It may not be only cost, but along with cost it could be people, it could be skills, right? We also have to understand that at scale it will only function as good as my weakest link is, right? We have to also understand what is it that is available as part of the system. If I bring in too much of expertise, a model with too much of expertise required, it will not work because that expertise doesn't exist in a larger system. So that's what I mean, and when you review smaller models that you wish to scale and you want them to work at scale and not only scale up, you have to review those models, not only design but review those models from all possible angles, even the challenges part of it. Let us say that in a model there are certain ways that you are addressing challenges. So also understand whether that way of addressing challenges is possible to do with that much, when your base increases, right? A simple 8 tech tool maybe, right? There are certain, you are putting that 8 tech tool in a, say in a pool of say 100 to 100 200 schools. Now suddenly if that 100 200 becomes 2000 3000 5000, the way you were supporting teacher, is that way going to help? What is it that you're going to require, right? The other problem with edtech tool is also, if there are recurring costs, who is going to bear those recurring costs? Is government going to bear those recurring costs? Are teacher going to bear those recurring costs? I think these are also important questions that need to be taken into account when we want to scale up the program. That's what I say. Edtech could be something which can be scaled up easily, but is it going to work at scale? That's the difference I mean when I say, is your model built for scale or is your model built for working at scale, are two different things.
Uh, Thank you for sharing your perspectives on this. I think that's a very interesting model of thinking about about initiatives. That if there's something which works in a particular context, in a particular size and scale, it may, whether it works in the same way, whether it can be replicated at a very larger scale in a different context, is something, before doing going ahead with that, there needs to be some questions which you have shared, which need to be thought about. um, Here I would also like to ask you about the role of community. You mentioned that in It'll gives work, the community engagement was an important aspect. If you have to talk about in what ways does the community play an important role in, especially in the learning of children, uh, and what kind of challenges is kind of faced in community engagement, and uh, in your experience, in your team's experience, what were different solutions that did work to kind of get that buy-in from the community to make this initiative successful? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, the child spends only a couple of hours in school, right? And he spends almost three times the time he spends in school at home with community, with friends. So, community plays a immensely important role in the overall learning of child. So, simple things like addition, subtraction, what he learns at school, or even the shapes, what he sees in, he experiences it at home, right? Roti goal hai, right? Or what he studies in his science, he sees it at home also, right? So all these things, so the family, the parents on the and the other larger community plays a very very important role. And I think it is it has also been acknowledged, recognized as part of the RTE, and that's why we have the school management committee is proposed there. So what we when we approach this problem, what we saw is that the first thing that is required if we want to have the sustainability built is the entity which has a very big role to play here needs to be right, the school management committee. So our first step was to set the school management committees as part of uh, entire process in the manner it is suggested in the RT. So as per the RT guidelines, we had to reconstitute SMCs. Important point here is that the SMC reconstitution is or the formation of SMC is a headmaster led process. So we build headmaster skills for this. It is also, we often experience that the SMC, because it has some power over how the funds can be spent, was also sometimes gets looked at as little power position. So that was a tight rope walk for our teams on ground, the implementing partners, to maneuver those conversations and see that the SMC understands the true essence of it. We successfully reconstituted SMCs as per the RT guidelines and then started working with them. So the relationship between the SMCs and the teachers, the relationship between the community and the SMC, the active participation of SMC member in school matters, and then starting to nudge them towards not only focusing uh, on the physical infrastructure, right? That how the school should have a wall compound, or school should have digital aids, but how the not looking at only this physical infrastructure, but to ensure that how they can contribute in the learning part as well. For example, the SMC member should understand the learning competencies. We are not saying that they have to be expert in it, but they should understand what the learning part is, what is expected that to happen in the school, and how we can help them to take right decisions with available funds, so that they are able to effectively contribute to the learning of the child in the school, right? Say for example, you have funds to spend. Is it important to get rid of that compound, which a fencing which is already available with some sort of plants, and build a wall there, a brick wall there, but instead of that spend that in painting the school to convert it into a learning aid? What is more important, what is going to add value in terms of learning, right? How they can judiciously use funds available under different schemes, that comes to gram panchayat, and education is also one of the priority areas, helping them to understand what are the opportunities available for them, and so that they can take right decision to contribute to learning, and not only look at the physical infrastructure part. What is also important here is how we can bring the larger community together, and that's what the concept and the reason behind institutionalizing the education gram sabha. How can people, parents come together, share their thoughts on enhancing learning, betterment of the school as part of education gram sabha? The resolutions from education gram sabha then get tabled into the main gram sabha, and that becomes a formal resolution for the betterment of school. That was the process that we adopted, and it worked beautifully for us. So we have about 10% villages where we have the school development plans are merged into the gram sabha, gram panchayat development plans. And out of our intervention school, more than 50% schools have SMCs very actively participating in the school development plan preparation.
Hmm. That's a very important point which you've mentioned, especially that when it comes to accountability of public schools and community participation in that accountability process, it's important to not just focus on the infrastructure and the physical aspects of school and the administrative aspect, but also the true goal of schools, which is that students are learning well. And then that's a very important point, and I think it's something which all of us can learn from the experience which you have just shared. One
One
final
point
question.
I would add, Mashood, here, to just to give an example of the ownership community feels, is it was not a I mean, I will also clarify that this was not an agenda point that the collaborators program ever spoke about, but the community's feeling towards school and the school needs fund, it was so much felt by the community. We saw even daily wage workers from places like Nandurbar and Gadchiroli contributing, money towards their school. They may be contributing very small, maybe 10 rupees towards their school, but the sense of ownership that comes with that okay, this is my school, I am contributing for betterment of my school, and I want my school to be better and so good that my children get quality education. We have seen schools in remote places of Gadchiroli, places of Nandurbar, even Parbhani, where the enrollment has now reversed. So children who had gone, to little bigger places in private schools, they are coming back to government schools in their schools. We have many such examples where the trend has reversed in the government schools, even in the rural and remote parts of our intervention districts. And all credit goes to our teachers and the community level people and the system who has taken immense effort to make this happen.
That's very inspiring to know, Atulji, that it's and especially when people from the marginalized backgrounds, and like, if it's the SMC is giving them a voice to participate, and also make sure that their children are asking, they're getting the platform to ask questions, to make sure that their children are learning in school. That's very inspiring as well. One last question, Atulji, which we wanted to ask you is: there's a new mission for foundational literacy and numeracy, the Nipun Bharat mission, and it talks about, in a mission mode, we want to ensure that all children in our schools, in elementary schools, achieve the foundational level skills in reading and math. And we feel, taking from your point of transparency and accountability, what do you feel is the importance of um, data? And as you mentioned assessment data, which the Maharashtra state had also taken. What do you? How can assessments and data help ensure transparency and accountability? And especially when we talk about very basic skills like foundational literacy and numeracy. And is it possible to use such data and assessment level data at different levels, right, from the school up to the state level? So, any thoughts on that?
I think the what we need if we really want to take actions is that first there has to be an acceptance that yes, there is a problem or there is a challenge, and the data will help us do that. If we have data and we acknowledge it, I think we can only solve a problem when we accept that yes, there is a problem. Now what data would do is, I think data has immense power, and it will help us to set our actions right. Right, for example, if the assessment data is telling us that there are certain competencies, basic competencies, which are part we consider under foundational literacy and numeracy. If those competencies we see the gaps, then only we will be able to deliberate on how we want to bridge these gaps. What are the solution, what are the ways to bridge these gaps? Unless and until we make use of this information, we will not be able to take right actions. For example, as I mentioned, how we analyze the data, it helped us to support teacher to identify what are the gaps in at the level of competency, right? And then when it came to addressing those, then it is required that we extend required support to teachers who are end of the day going to take those actions to bridge for those gaps among children, is how that process can be facilitated, right? We see often see that data, it's very easy to use data for punitive action, but that is not going to solve the problem. If you want to really solve the problem, we have to see how that data can be used constructively, in a constructive manner, to support teacher, and not for punitive action, to say that okay, if this is a problem, what is it that the teacher requires, what is it that the teacher can learn from his peers, because the peers are addressing those problems in their similar contexts, right? What is it that the teacher needs as an external input? And it is best if we are able to identify such exemplars from within the system, because they have experienced and solved those problems, because that brings it more acceptance, more ownership, and more confidence among different stakeholders, that yes, this is possible in the framework that we work within. It is no, I don't think it is so very helpful to go to them to say that this is how you should be solving your problem, than they understanding, okay, this is my problem and this is how I can solve it. That's more powerful, I believe. It's also one more important point here is that you know how we are building the skill even in terms of assessment. Uh, if we are looking at changing the problem at scale, how are we facilitating skill building for teacher to measure the competencies in the correct manner? Do we have teachers with who have those competencies that they will be able to assess what in the right manner? Do we have competencies with that the teacher are competent to run the CC in the manner it is desired? If not, how we can focus on building their capacities to make that assessment in the right way, so that the entire effort of achieving the foundation literacy and numeracy can be achieved. That's what I feel.
Right. That's thank you for sharing that perspective. And I think one point which also resonates with what we are doing here at Global Dream is also that data needs to be. It should not be punitive, right? That it should not be like a judgment on the capabilities and the efforts of the teachers, because assessment data depends on a lot of different things. And also, it should help the teacher to take corrective action to steer the class in the right direction. So I think it's very important points that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's
Um,
also important we use that data even other processes. For example, if the teacher is using it for their classroom processes, how we can help use of that data at the block level for and the district level for better planning and review, right? We usually find that only the nearby schools are visited. How we can use this information to even devise a school visit plan for block level and the district level people, how then in those visits can motivate and support teachers to even perform better, how they can solve their problems and support them. I think that's how data should be used in a constructive way.
Absolutely, right from the school level up to the block, and the administrators can even use that data to plan the visits, to plan any capacity building initiatives, or that's actually a great idea. I think towards the end we would like to take one question from the audience. We have a question here from Mohsina, who's saying that how can we create community engagement for quality education in digital learning? I think, of course, post the pandemic, there is much larger adoption of online digital learning, and of course, like we know that there are challenges of digital divide as well. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, this is not a prescription from our side as part of program, because again, that's how I would differentiate what works at scale and what needs to be scaled up. If I say that all schools should have digital equipments, that's not how it's going to work, right? From where the money would come. So but essentially when it comes to community level, what we did even before the pandemic, and that came helped us immensely as during this pandemic period, is creation of learning groups. So as part of our regular intervention, we created learning groups in all our intervention villages. What are learning groups is groups of about 5, 7, 8 children who come together in one place, and that group is anchored by an elderly child in the school, or in the community. So maybe say a group of children, that group is anchored by a class 11 or class 12 child in the community. And this helped us immensely. We all during the pandemic, in terms of these people are able to lend their mobile devices to these groups. The shikshan mitra, that these volunteers, many of these volunteers became also shikshan mitra, and with our community engagement, we were also able to identify some more shikshan mitra from with help of government system from the villages, who helped us to reach out to the children during this difficult time. The and Through them we were able to engage with children. I wouldn't say we were able to contribute too much to learning to prevent the learning loss, but at least we were able to engage with children, and I think that is going to be very, very helpful for us to some extent arrest the dropout that we might have otherwise experienced post the schools open. But the digital means, through WhatsApp, the Shikshan Mitra, or the education volunteers that were available, the community level people who were available for us, through them our teachers were able to reach out to their children in the schools, in the community, to ensure that they are engaged during this difficult time. For in general, if you are asking how we have built the community engagement, I think it is I wouldn't say it is built specifically for digital engagement, but it is built for overall learning. And now it is up to the community to decide what and how they want to add value to the entire learning experience. If they feel that their children need this particular exposure, that is something, and they unanimously decide that, it is their call. But what is important for us here is that the community is together to decide, and what should be the future course of action that will add value to the entire learning experience of the child. And they are they are right. They know what, like we know what our children want, they know what their children want too, right? They are also parent to their children. They are they are also able to decide.
Thank you so much, Atulji, for answering that question. And in the duration of this talk, you've really set a very strong and robust template and model about how, if we have to really put the learning of children at the very center, and putting children at the very center of a systemic transformation. It's an absolutely wonderful template which you have shared, some wonderful examples and anecdotes as well. And we hope that all the people who are watching this live and will be watching this video in the upcoming time are able to learn from this, reflect on some important questions which you talked about, working at scale, and also looking at data assessments and all these existing elements of the education system, and work with the stakeholders so that they create the ownership over that. So with this, thank you once again for your very valuable time and for joining us in this session of Detox.
Yeah, thank you, Mashud, for giving an opportunity to be part of this series. And before I close, I would thank all the implementing partners and the funding partners with Edelgive in this endeavor, and the efforts that they have put in this collaborators program. Thank you so very much to entire your team. Thank you.
Thank you very much.